What is going on, everyone? Today we are going to be ranking on a tier list every single, or at least a decent amount of the MCU heroes, just the heroes, so no villains. I'm going to do another list with villains, I think. Villains, I feel like I have to do a little more research into some of the older ones because I haven't seen, like, for example, Thor the Dark World. I haven't seen that movie in at least, like, 8 years now or something. Like, I don't know. I've seen it in a long time. So, like, Malekith in that movie, I honestly don't remember much about his character, so I might rewatch the movie. Just a couple of the movies, the ones I haven't seen in a while, just so I can remember some of the older villains. But when it comes to the heroes, most of these characters I'm pretty well versed on. I kind of remember a lot about them, so I don't feel like I have to go back to any older movies to rewatch. But obviously I've seen all the MCU movies. I really do like this franchise a lot. A lot of great, memorable characters in them. And some of these characters here, some of them become villains at some point, some of them are villains at first. It's just, I'm just ranking these ones, the ones that I felt like were the most impactful throughout the series. So obviously there's little, heroes here and there that I'm just not going to include because I don't really want to talk about literally like 1,000 different characters. Just, I think 45 here all throughout the different films. And yeah, we're just going to do the ones here. So again, if there's ones that I missed that you want me to talk about, too damn bad. All right. Starting it off pretty damn strong with Tony Stark, also known as Iron Man. He's obviously going to go in S tier. That's pretty obvious. He's the leader of this entire franchise, I would say. Obviously not anymore, but he was for a long period of time. And so, of course, he's deserving of the S tier. I love his character because he goes from being this really overly confident, cocky, borderline narcissistic person who kind of grows out of that a little bit as the series goes on. He goes through a lot of different things, especially I loved the PTSD they explored with him in Iron Man 3 after what happened in the Avengers with him going up into the little wormhole, and that just completely changed his entire perception on life. And then going into Infinity War and Endgame was, I think, where he was at his peak character, where, first of all, he was becoming a father figure to Peter Parker, which I thought was a really interesting twist that they did on these characters. A lot of people didn't like that. I wasn't crazy about it at first, but with where we are now, I think it was completely fine. And I really liked what that did for Tony's character. I just didn't like what it did for Peter's character at that time. But now, again, it's not a big deal. But Tony going through all that was just, it was really well done. But the best thing is, the best part about his character is how they ended him off, right? In Endgame, I thought it was perfectly executed because this is a character who, like I said, has been very selfish throughout the series. And for his final moments to be him sacrificing himself is just really fitting because it's the polar opposite of his character and what he started off as. So incredibly done, like perfect casting for Robert Downey Jr. here. It's just, it's the best character. He's one of my favorite fictional characters of all time, by far. And he was only in, well, I'm saying only, like 8 is not a lot of movies, obviously 8's a ton of movies, but compared to, I don't know, like characters in like a lot of different TV shows, he obviously hasn't had as much, time to develop as a lot of characters in other big TV shows like Walter White and Breaking Bad, but he still is one of the best written and one of the best developed characters in fiction, in my opinion. So yeah, definitely a solid start with him. Next up, War Machine. I mean, he's gonna get more screen time, so this is one that's definitely gonna change, and I think he's actually getting his own TV show called Armor Wars. I'm not sure what that show's exactly gonna be about, but I believe he is going to be the lead. But for how we have him now, I'm just gonna give him B because I don't know. Like I said, this is about the character, right? This is not basing it off of how much I like them as a person. It's how interesting are they as a character. And we haven't really got enough from Rhodey yet for me to really think he is A tier or S tier of a character. But from what we have gotten, he's pretty fun. Yeah, I don't know. I definitely like Don Cheadle. I don't know. Some people kind of argue that Terrence Howard back in Iron Man 1 was better as War Machine, and he should have stuck around. But we also only saw him for one movie, so it's kind of hard to, base which one would have been better for the long term. But I think Don Cheadle, he's been pretty great. He's funny. I don't know. He has a lot of comedic moments. I think they probably give him too much comedic moments, and he should be having more character growing moments. And like, he really hasn't had too many, other than in the 2 Iron Man films, or well, 3 Iron Man films, 2 of them with Don Cheadle. But yeah, he's been more comedic. I don't know, especially in Endgame, they give him a lot of comedy in that movie. But he's getting his own TV show, so we'll definitely see more of him there. He might go up. Pepper Potts, I'm going to give her A. The reason why I'm putting her on this list, because obviously, you look at everyone else, it's like she's one of the only characters on this list that isn't like a full-on hero. She had her moment in Endgame where she put on a suit, so to me that felt like enough to put her on the same list along with the other heroes, but I'm not going to put like MJ or like Ned or something, because yeah, sure, they had their moments too, but this is a little bit different. I feel like for her to full on be in a suit and in the action. Again, I guess MJ has been in the action quite a bit. I don't know, whatever. I didn't include Ned and MJ, who cares? But she's going in A because she's been a great character as well. I mean, a big part of her character obviously is her relationship with Tony, and I think it was one of those things that was really important to Tony's character, so it builds off of his character very well, and therefore her character automatically becomes very much more important in the story. I really hope we see her again. I don't think we will. I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow has ever said anything about her coming back. She might have said she was okay with it. I just don't know if that means anything. I have no idea. Steve Rogers, Captain America, obviously S tier as well. That's a no-brainer to me. He's very much the polar opposite of Tony Stark, and especially with their progression. Steve Rogers is the exact opposite, where he's a very selfless character right off the get-go. He will do anything for other people, and he will, let his life on the line for anyone, which is the exact way that Iron Man goes out. But instead, Steve Rogers' his character kind of finishes in a completely different direction, where he kind of gives time to himself. He's like, okay, I've spent my whole life sacrificing myself for others. Let me just give some time to myself, and let me just enjoy my time with Peggy back in the 1940s. And I thought that was a perfect end to his character as well. So like, both of those characters got fantastic ends, and I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, to be completely honest. Then we have Peggy Carter. I'm gonna say include Captain Carter with this too. I know it's technically a different character. Obviously it is a different character, but I mean, I didn't want to include Captain Carter as a separate one, so I was just like, whatever. I'm gonna give her B. Kind of like Don Cheadle, kind of like War Machine. I mean, fine with what we've gotten. Obviously, we haven't seen too much of her. She was great in the first Captain America, but didn't see her much after that. And yeah, I don't really have much else to say about her. She was cool as Captain Carter too, in Doctor Strange too. So Sharon Carter, I actually don't think Sharon Carter is as interesting as Peggy Carter. We're gonna see more of her, but I really wasn't like crazy about her in Falcon and Winter Soldier, that's the show. I think she was much better in the movies, but then again, she wasn't in too much of them. But I don't know. I don't think she's in the same tier as those two, so I'm just gonna throw her in C. Bucky, obviously he was a villain for a little bit, but not really a full-on villain. It was just, brainwash. I'm gonna put him, this is as Bucky, as his heroic self. We got a lot more of him, obviously, in, I might say A. We got a lot more of him in the Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I thought he was really great there. I really like how they touched on his character, because obviously he would feel a lot of guilt over what he has done, even though it was a version of him that was brainwashed. But I like how they touched on that in that show. I thought that was one of the only good parts of that show. I really wasn't a big fan of that show. And of course, in Civil War, he was great. He didn't have too many moments in the Avengers films, but when he was there, he was fun to watch. So yeah, he's A tier. He's definitely gonna get more going forward. I'm sure they're gonna give him a lot more in Captain America 4, but for now, I think he's definitely an A tier character. Okay, Sam Wilson. This is definitely one that'll probably go up as well, especially after Captain America 4, because he is going to be the lead of that movie. But I'm just gonna put him in B. I thought Falcon and Winter Soldier, I almost forgot the name of the damn show. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. Obviously, it was my least favorite of the MCU films. Like for an MCU shows, not films. For the MCU shows, I think it was definitely weaker compared to the rest. But like compared to a lot of other shows, it wasn't that terrible. I was mainly against the villain. I didn't like the villain in the I keep wanting to call it film, in the show. But Sam Wilson's character was fine, and I thought he was definitely the best he's been compared to any of the previous movies, because in the other ones he never really had much screen time. He was always kind of just Cap's sidekick, but he actually got to be more of a lead role in that show, and I thought it was good. But I don't think he's to the point where I would consider him that great of a character yet. He hasn't gone through too many character arcs that I think could really make me think he's one of the better characters in the MCU. But right now, yeah, B tier seems good to me. US Agent is actually a character that I really enjoyed in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but again, we haven't seen enough of him yet. I consider him a hero just because he was more heroic towards the end of the series, And even at the beginning, like, he was meant to be this character that you were supposed to kind of dislike, but I never really felt it because he was just kind of doing his job. Yes, he was a little bit arrogant here and there, and he made a, you know, huge mistake killing that one guy, but I never felt like, oh my god, he's this like terrible person because he killed this guy. I'm like, I'm sure Steve Rogers has killed multiple people, you know? It's just, it happened. It was not a good person. It was kind of someone who was killing a bunch of innocent people before. So I didn't take him as a villain after that. I'm not sure if they're going to go in that direction to make him a villain, but for now I'm going to give him B tier. I do think he's definitely a pretty interesting character in the show that he was in. Thor, I mean, this is like an obvious one. You know, you got to put the trio together up in S. You just have to. I'm in the minority where I actually really thought what they did with him at Endgame was actually pretty interesting. I know a lot of people hated that. I thought it was fine. People just don't like the idea of making their very powerful heroes a little bit less powerful. But I thought it made sense. He's gone through a lot of shit, and that affected him. And yes, it meant also affecting him physically. So yes, that's why he gained a lot of weight in the movie. And I didn't think that was a problem. I thought it made sense, and it actually worked for his character. I'm very excited to see where they go with this character in Thor: Love and Thunder. But I think throughout Ragnarok, and especially Infinity War and Endgame, I think that's where he was at his peak. I wasn't really crazy about him before Ragnarok, back in the first Avengers, second Avengers, and his 2 Thor films. I thought he was fine in them. I just never thought he was that great. I think he started to become really good into Ragnarok and onward, and he became this very fun character who has a really dark story to him because he's lost a ton. And that goes with Loki, of course, as well, who I'm also going to put in S tier. Loki's a villain and a hero, kind of an anti-hero, I guess you could say. But I think he's been a hero for more of the franchise than he's been a villain, to be honest. And I think him as a hero is actually more interesting. Loki as a character within the show, I thought was actually where I liked him the most. And I'm very excited to see season 2 of that show because, yes, they did announce a season 2 of that show. But he was also great in Ragnarok. He was great in Infinity War for the little bit he was in it. And again, as a villain back in the first Thor and in the first Avengers, he was also really great. But again, this is just the part of him that was our hero, and like I said, I think he's S tier as a hero as well, so that's definitely deserving. Sylvie from the Loki show, at this point I'm just gonna say B, just because we haven't seen enough of her. I know she's just another variant of Loki, so she's obviously going to be very similar to Loki, but I think we need to see a little bit more of her character to really get me to care all that much about her. Korg, this is going to piss some people off, but I mean, I don't know. We don't know shit about him. I don't know why I included him on this list. He's funny, sure. He's just kind of like a cute rock monster thing, but like, I don't really have much to say about Korg right now. I really don't. Same with Valkyrie. I don't have much to say about her. We're going to see a lot more of her in Thor: Love and Thunder, and I'm very excited to see more of her. But from what we've gotten so far, I don't think she's that interesting just yet. I'm sure she will get there at some point, but for now, I'm just gonna put her in C because I don't think she would be on the same tier as some of these other characters. Hulk, I don't know, honestly. This is probably one of the harder ones because his character's been. I haven't loved the little relationship they did with him and Natasha. Wasn't crazy about that. I did like him in his own solo film, although obviously it was a completely different actor, so it definitely felt like a different character because of that. Like Mark Ruffalo feels nothing like Edward Norton's version, just absolutely nothing. I don't feel any similarities like at all. I kind of wish they just didn't include him in the same universe because it's weird. I don't know. It doesn't feel right. They feel like completely different characters. Like Terrence Howard to Don Cheadle, it feels more like a similar character. I don't think the character changed that much. But, I mean, Edward Norton's version from Mark Ruffalo, and I'm not talking about looks, I'm talking about the character. They don't feel the same to me. They just don't. I don't know. But I'm going to give him B anyways. Like, he's good, especially in, I would say, Endgame more than anything. I know people don't like the Professor Hulk thing. I liked it. He's great there. I think he was really good in the first 2 Avengers as well. Infinity War, I didn't like how they had him in the Hulkbuster the whole time. I wanted to see him in action as Hulk, but yeah, well, I mean, they did see him a little bit in the beginning of the film, getting his ass kicked by Thanos, which was a very good action scene. But I don't know, Hulk is just decent, so that's why I'm giving him B tier. Nick Fury, he's not much of a character. He's more of just a leader, but we have gotten a lot of good stuff with him what I mean by more of a leader, not as much as a character, is he's not very much given a lot of depth. It's a lot of just him ordering, the other characters around. But they did give him a lot of depth in Winter Soldier. I think Winter Soldier was definitely where he was at his peak, and I absolutely loved him in that movie. So I'm going to give him A just for his performance in the Winter Soldier alone. Obviously, I like Samuel L. Jackson a ton as well. The actor is very important to the character, and I wouldn't want him any different. I'm very excited to see him in Secret Invasion. A little disappointed that his Far From Home version wasn't actually him. It was actually one of the Skrulls. But, oh well, we still got to see Samuel L. Jackson there regardless. And of course, in the Avengers movies, he was great. I'm just excited to see more of him, because I know we will. And Captain Marvel, too, he was the best part of that movie. So that's definitely a plus there. He's definitely A tier. He just, again, he doesn't have as much depth as I feel like he could just yet. Maybe they'll give him more later on. I don't know. Natasha, Black Widow, I'm going to say A tier. She's got a lot of good character moments here and there. She's definitely more of a sidekick than anything. But, of course, they gave her a solo film, which I thought was good as a film. It was okay. There was things about it I really liked, things about it I didn't like. But her character was not something that I didn't like. Her character was definitely one of the better parts of the movie. The stuff I didn't like had more to do with the villain side of things and some of the action, how some of it was shot, like other things other than the character. But the character itself I thought was handled well. Of course, she was dead, so it was kind of hard to care that much about her development because we knew she was going to be dead anyways. But I still enjoyed it for what it was. And her character before that was also great. She had a lot of great moments. I thought she was one of the best parts of Endgame, and I thought her death was very well executed. So yeah, she's a huge plus in the MCU. And Yelena, also A tier. And she's not been in nearly as much as her sister, but I mean, just her appearance in Black Widow and Hawkeye alone is enough for me to say she's an A tier character. That's how damn fun she was. It's Florence Pugh. I mean, she's just great. So that obviously helps it a lot. Hawkeye, I'm going to give it an A as well, only because of the Hawkeye show. I think he was great in that show. Before that, I would have probably given him B. And also in Endgame, he was amazing in Endgame. That was probably my favorite version of him. Same with Black Widow in Endgame. I thought they had a lot of screen time and they were very interesting. And of course, him losing his family and just losing it, turning into the Ronin was really damn good. But then the show even made him better, in my opinion. But before that, he was never all that interesting. He was just a dude with a bow and arrow, and I didn't really care for him. But that definitely helped his character out a lot, just letting him go through tremendous loss and then seeing his development from there, and it was all really good. Kate Bishop, we're going to probably see a lot more of her, but for where we've seen her now, I'm just going to give her B. She's a really fun character. Obviously, Haley Steinfeld's really, really great in the role, so that's a plus. But we don't have enough of her character yet for me to really think she's worthy of A or S tier. Again, probably will change over time. Star-Lord, easy S. This is definitely one of my favorite characters in the MCU. I'm not ranking them within the tiers just yet. Maybe I'll do that at the end. There's too many characters. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a really strong opinion between each of them. I don't like the top 5 here. I could probably find an order, but it's not that big of a deal. They're all S tier. That's all that really matters at the end of the day. Star-Lord, I like Chris Pratt a lot, so that definitely helps. But the Guardians movies, he's obviously one of the best parts about them, really. He's a really fun character. That's obviously the best thing about him, is how fun he is. And I like how Guardians of the Galaxy started off with him losing his mom and then automatically being sucked into the craziness that movie was. And we kind of get to learn a lot about him, and we get to see, his cassette tape and how his mom gave that to him and all the music he was playing, all that classic music. And then seeing his character in the second one where he meets his dad and he learns that his dad killed his mom, and all the stuff to do with his character there is just so damn good. I absolutely loved every second of it. And even in Infinity War and stuff, he's really fun. I cannot wait to see more of him in Thor 4 and of course the new Guardians movie and the holiday special, all that stuff. It's going to be really great. Gamora, also S tier. I really, really love her character, especially in Infinity War. And she, of course, died, but we're going to be seeing the other variant. I'm assuming they're going to bring her back. I don't know if they're just going to throw Gamora away completely, but the version that we know and love is dead. And I thought it was very fitting. It was a very, very good moment in Infinity War, but her character was definitely at her peak there. But even in the Guardians movies, she was just outstanding as Thanos' daughter, and her relationship with her sister, I might as well just put her sister next, was one of the best parts of those movies. I'm going to put her just below an A, actually, which might be high for some people, but I think Nebula was great. And again, just like some of these other characters, I think she was at her peak in Endgame. A lot of characters had their best version in Endgame just because it was a very emotional movie, so I guess that kind of helped them a lot. But that's why I like that movie so much, I think, because it had a lot of great character moments and a lot of the characters were at their peak in that movie. Drax, I don't know about Drax. He's just, to me, comic relief. I'm gonna put him in B. He's still a Guardian of the Galaxy, and it's still really fun to see him. But I don't necessarily like his character as much as a lot of these others. He's just kind of funny and cool to see. I don't know. But he's a little too comedic sometimes. Like, they go a little far with it. I'm just like, all right, you can, especially in Guardians Volume 2. I love that movie, but he takes it a little too far sometimes. And it's like, all right, we get it. You're a funny dude. You don't have to keep making jokes. Rocket Raccoon, S tier as well. You can probably tell I love the Guardians of the Galaxy a lot. I mean, yeah, he's a fantastic character. And Gru, it's kind of hard to like rate Gru. I didn't put Baby Gru. I know Baby Gru's technically his like son, I guess, but I'm just gonna put them together as one. I don't know. He's just like he's like a pet. He doesn't have much of a character to him. He's kind of just a sidekick to Rocket. Rocket's the one who actually has a lot of characterization to him, especially the moments in Volume 2 with Yondu, which I thought was some of the best stuff of that movie. And I'm also gonna put Yondu in A tier along with Nebula, but Mantis is gonna go in B. So that's the Guardians of the Galaxy right there. I just shot through them pretty fast, but all of them are at least B tier or higher because they are great. They are great. But Yondu, I'm going to talk about a little bit. Obviously, Michael Rooker is just a fantastic actor, but the way they killed off his character there, the way he kind of went from being this guy who you could kind of tell cared about Peter a little bit, Peter Quill, but he wasn't like, you know, he didn't show it all that well. But then obviously in the Volume 2, that's when he really showed that he really does care about him. And Peter obviously sees that, and it's a beautiful moment. The way they end that movie was beautiful, and then him sacrificing himself to save Peter. Oh, really great stuff. I really love it. Vision, I'm going to put an A tier. I think Vision is a fantastic character. He died pretty quickly, honestly. He had, you know, Age of Ultron, Civil War, and then Infinity War. And we saw him, obviously, in WandaVision, but that wasn't really him. But I'm still going to count it, obviously. But he was freaking great in Infinity War. And WandaVision, again, it wasn't like him, but it was like enough of him to the point where I would consider it, again, part of his character. And he's so different than everyone else because he's obviously not human. You know, he's not alien either. He's AI that was brought to life. And so he has a lot of interesting quandaries about life. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but he has a lot of interesting conversations, especially with Wanda. And Civil War, I forgot about how good he was in Civil War as well. He was fantastic there. He had one of the best moments in Age of Ultron when he was talking to that last Ultron bot at the very end of the movie. And he's really cool too. I mean, he's definitely one of the most powerful of all the Avengers, so that's really great. I don't think we're gonna see him again in all his glory, but from what we got of him, he was great. He was great. Next up is Wanda, or the Scarlet Witch. Easily S tier. I would actually say she's within like my top couple favorites. She would be probably up here if we were to rank it within the tiers, but again, I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, she's one of the best. Easily one of the best, especially after Doctor Strange 2. I know she's a villain in that, and I will be including her in the villain tier list, but as a hero, even, she's S tier. And then as a hero slash villain, she's S tier. As a villain, she's an S all around. She's got one of the best character arcs in the entire MCU. She's also one of the most powerful. I would say she probably is the most powerful. Like, let's be real here. But she's lost a lot, obviously. You know, she lost Quicksilver, she lost Vision, and now she lost her imaginary kids, which, you know, I guess they're not imaginary in other universes, but they are kind of to her. And that story was just so well executed. But I think it's a big part of it's also Elizabeth Olsen's performance. It definitely is really impactful and really just hits hard. And she's one of my favorite parts of Infinity War. She's one of my favorite parts of Civil War. I love how they handle her character there, where she accidentally gets some people killed, and she really does feel guilty about what happened. And she's one of the biggest like interpretations of, are heroes too powerful? Because she is the most powerful one, or at least one of the most powerful ones. So the whole conversation in Civil War, a big part of it revolves around her character, especially what happens at the beginning of the movie when she you know, saves people, but in the process gets some people killed. Great character though. Monica Rambeau, I don't know how to pronounce it. She was in WandaVision. She was a kid in Captain Marvel. Obviously, her mom was in Captain Marvel. I didn't include her mom, but I probably could have. I just included her. For now, again, we have to get more of her, and then maybe I can have a better opinion. But for now, I'm just going to say C tier. I don't necessarily think there's anything about her character that I'm automatically going to say is amazing just yet, but hopefully we will get to that point as, you know, I believe she's going to be the next Captain Marvel movie, so hopefully she's good there. But for now, I don't really have much to say about her because I don't really know much about her, to be honest. Quicksilver, kind of disappointing for the Quicksilver in the MCU. He served his purpose. He gave a lot of development for Wanda, but I do think we could have seen a lot more of him. I would have liked to have seen a lot more of him. At this point, I hope we just actually get the full-on X-Men Quicksilver in the MCU. Obviously, WandaVision, that didn't really count, but from what we saw from him, I'm just going to say C. I don't really think he's that great. Ant-Man is really fun, but I can't really say he's been given that much other than an Endgame. And again, just like a lot of these characters, he was peak in Endgame. Just goes to show how much I love that movie. But he had a lot to do there, and I thought his character moments were the best in that movie. They were some of the best. But in his own movies, I honestly didn't think he was that great. I love Ant-Man. I love it. I don't like the second one as much, but I'm just going to say for now, he's going to go, he's fun. He's fun enough for me to say A. He was really great in Endgame. Yeah, I'm going to say A. A big part of it is I love Paul Rudd, so I guess that helps a lot. But the Wasp, I'm just going to say C. I really like the actress. I really like the character as well, but I mean like the character and like the design and such and the look of her, but I don't really think I have seen enough of her yet to really think I'm going to a lot of these characters are just that. It's just we have to see more. And I think she's definitely one of the big ones for that, because Ant-Man 3, she's going to have a big role in that, obviously. But I didn't like Ant-Man the Wasp that much. I thought she almost kind of overshined Ant-Man, but it wasn't stuff that I thought was that great either. So right now I'm just going to say C, but hopefully it goes up. Doctor Strange is S as well. I didn't think that before, but after Doctor Strange 2, definitely S. He probably would have been A before that movie, but that definitely put him in S, which is another example of a character moving up after we see more of him. So yeah, easily S tier for him. The Ancient One, I don't even know why I included her, really. I don't know if she was that great of a character. She had a, cool, interesting role in the movie, and the actress did a great job, but I don't know. I included her. There's not much to talk about with her, to be honest. Wong is fun. He's cool, but we don't know much about him. But he's fun enough to put him on B, and he was really he was enjoyable. He's got a nice presence in the movies. America Chavez, I'm gonna put on B as well. A lot of B tier characters here, because I really liked her in the movie. I did, but again, haven't seen enough of her yet to care all that much. I think she's probably gonna be part of the Young Avengers whenever they decide to do that. Oh, now we have the 3 Spider-Men. Let's just plop them all on S just directly, obviously. I mean, I'm including their characters in their own movies as well. I thought I might as well. I don't know. They had a big enough role in No Way Home for me to say, yeah, let me just include their other movies too. So yeah, obviously they're all here. They all are some of my favorite characters in fiction. Toby's definitely the one that I like the most. In terms of the character. In terms of acting, I think they all portray the character just as equally, but Toby's version, I think, is more complete, and the other characters, again, they're not as complete, but they're still really solid. But Toby's version feels very complete to me. He had a really solid arc throughout the movies. I especially like this character in Spider-Man 2, with his debating over wanting to be a superhero, kind of trying to, struggle with real human things, and not human, I guess, people things, and superhero things, and trying to kind of balance them. And Andrew Garfield's version, I really love what they did with him. Kind of the similar thing too, trying to balance. That's Peter Parker and Spider-Man. That's his character, trying to balance Peter Parker and Spider-Man and the 2 different versions of him. That's literally the bulk of the character, and I think both these characters do that great. Tom Holland's version, I don't think has been doing that as great, but after No Way Home, I think they definitely solidified him as a great Spider-Man because of the change they had in the end of the film where he did the spell to make everyone forget who he is, or forget that Spider-Man is, well, yeah, I guess they all forget who Peter Parker is. So now he's, you know, back to this character who's gonna have to balance a new version of Peter Parker with Spider-Man, and no one knows who he is. So it's not like he could just, because, like, you know, in the MCU, he's just kind of had his mask off the whole time and such, and people kind of always see him, and it's not like, it doesn't feel like Spider-Man in that sense, but now he does. So yeah, Spider-Man's, all three of them, they're S tier easily, no questions asked. Like, I don't have to even think about that one. That's very easy. Black Panther, very, very upset, of course, that we couldn't get to see more of him. It's very, very tragic what happened with Chadwick Boseman, but he's A tier, definitely A tier. I wasn't crazy about Black Panther, to be honest. Like, as a movie, I didn't think it was that great of an MCU film, but his character was definitely the highlight of the movie. And even in Civil War, I actually thought he was better in Civil War. He didn't do a lot in Endgame. He was in Endgame. Infinity War, he was there, had great action scenes, but his character obviously was, you know, completely outshined by a lot of the other characters that had a lot more screen time. But in Civil War especially, that's where I think he definitely got his A tier role for me, is what his character was like in Civil War. That's where he was introduced as well. I mean, he was also introduced alongside Spider-Man. Civil War introduced a lot of people. I totally forgot that it did. But he was great in that. And then, of course, his own movie, he was great as well. Definitely deserving of A tier. And then two other characters from Black Panther that I thought were deserving of being included on the heroes list. Okoye, I think I'm saying her name right. She's cool, but we don't know much about her other than she's just really, really damn cool. Obviously, you know, she's also Michonne in The Walking Dead, so that gains her some brownie points. And Shuri, I'm also going to put her on B tier. I know there's a lot of controversy about this actress with what's happening with Black Panther 2, which I think she might be the lead of that movie. I'm not sure if that's true, but she might be the lead. I have no idea. I have no idea exactly what they're going to do. I'm kind of excited to see what they're going to do with that movie just because I have no idea what they're going to do. And Captain Marvel is the only character to go D. Oh, man. Okay. So I was going to just end it there and just not even explain, but I think I should explain it. I don't think Brie Larson is doing a bad job with this character at all. A lot of people say it's Brie Larson's fault. Like, oh, she's a crap actor. She's terrible. She's doing a fine job. She's a great actress. She's been in other stuff I've seen her in. She's always been great. So I don't think it's her fault. They just wrote her character to be the most obnoxious and just emotionless human being on planet Earth. Okay, so we see her in Captain Marvel, her own film, which I don't think was that great of a movie. I don't think it's terrible, but I don't think it was one of the worst MCU films to me. She's just, like I said, emotionless. And that's kind of the point. She's supposed to be in the movie, but that's a problem. I don't want your main character to ever be emotionless. That's never good. When your main character feels robotic, it's not good. All these other characters, all the other main characters here, they have personality, right? They have a really distinct personality, whether it's good or bad or happy or sad, whatever. But they have something there. Captain Marvel in this is just this robotic badass. Yes, she's a badass. Yes, she's really powerful. Yes, she's kicking ass. But being powerful does not make you interesting. Wanda is not an S tier character because she's so powerful. She's an S tier character because the character is really damn interesting and has a lot of depth to her. Captain Marvel is like, there's nothing to her. It could go up after the second one. I hope it does. I didn't give rat's ass about her there. Endgame, again, she was just there to be this badass, you know, like robotic person. I don't feel anything when I saw her. She was just badass and just blew stuff up, did a bunch of cool stuff. But I almost feel like there's no flaws in her character either. Like, she doesn't have any like distinct things that kind of make her weaker in any sense. She's just 100% just really powerful, which is never interesting to me. She's just emotionless. There's just no depth. I don't know. I didn't like her. Maybe people can find more depth than I can, but I just can't find it. So from what we've seen of her so far, she's my least favorite MCU hero for sure. I hope it goes up. I hope that changes with the later movies, but for now, I just find her unbearable. And it's not Brie Larson's fault. It's not. She can definitely do better with it if they gave her better material. And I hope they do. So yeah, that's my list. I'm going to change up S tier a little bit, just kind of like order it. But I'm not going to do anything with the rest. I don't really want to go that far. But if we're going to order them here, I'm going to say Toby's there. I think Wanda's here. I'd probably put them two up here as well, because I mean it's Spider-Man. Come on, you know. Captain Marvel's not America is up there. Yeah, I think that's about right actually. Maybe Doctor Strange right there. Wanda's like top 3 though, for sure. I mean, she's fucking great. Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. Hopefully you all enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I will see you all in my next one. Peace out.